his other problem, of course, is this Rwanda thing, which he seems obsessed
Oh,
with,
yes.
which is, as you say, I think, pointless. But you wrote this weekend about how society is now currently set up in which it's in such a way that it can't really operate without mass immigration anymore.
Well, it is a consequence of the moral, social, and cultural revolution of the 60s that we abandoned several things. Particularly, we abandoned the sort of education system which produces large numbers of people to fill the jobs that we want to fill. And so, if we want to fill them, then we're, I won't say compelled, but under pretty strong pressure to recruit people abroad, pillaging their education systems, which do better than ours. And we've also changed completely the nature of family life, so that women who used to do a fantastic amount of unpaid work at home, both looking after children and in many cases looking after the old as well, have now been marched off into factories and call centers and offices, and in some cases, they're not as many as you might think, glittering careers. And so they're not there to do those jobs anymore, at the same time as the structure of the family has pretty much collapsed. So an awful lot of children are growing up without fathers, and again, are going to be difficult to employ. So we have created these enormous roles. The other thing we've done, of course, is we've made it almost impossible to raise a family on one income. And made the whole idea, which used to be quite attractive to people, of fairly large families, deeply unattractive. And so many of the people that have been aborted and contracepted out of existence before their lives started are now being replaced by people who've been imported from other countries. So immigration has many characteristics, but one of them is it is a result of gigantic social changes which we volunteered for, or rather our elite volunteered for, 50 or 60 years ago, which are now coming to fruition. And if we ever want to be a society which is not dependent on mass immigration again, we're going to have to change our education system enormously to make it much more vocational, for instance. And we're going to have to, in my view, reconstruct family life so that children get a better upbringing than they do. And also, we're going to have to decide who's actually going to do all those jobs, which the women we've marched off into wage slavery used to do, because at the moment they have to be done very expensively, often by people imported from abroad and paid wages. It is a conundrum which nobody is really addressing. And it's all very well to say I'm against mass immigration. I think many of us are, because we see the huge social consequences of large numbers of people coming from outside who haven't had time to integrate. But how are you going to deal with the other social problems if it's not there? I mean, no one's thinking about this at all. And I thought it was time to set out in my Mail on Sunday column some thoughts about this, because it just doesn't seem to me to be being discussed. It's no just going on about numbers and making promises you can't keep. And say, okay, we don't want this anymore. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I mean, I said this to somebody the weekend. We were talking about the businesses that are supported by what you might call mass immigration, like, for example, you know, a lot of the hospitality business, perhaps, but a lot of that has become, you know, these endless coffee shops that exist in every street, in every centre, in every town in Britain, which didn't used to exist and which we could probably do quite well without, to be honest. And similarly,
well, maybe we could. I mean, well, again, this is to do with people living at home less and living, as I say, at work or on the way to work more than they used to. So again, the decline of the family and of the household, the basis of life, does change an awful lot of things. And but also, why is it that if somebody sets up a coffee chain, that they will almost invariably employ people who have come from other countries, generally continental countries? Why is it if you go to a hotel in this country, generally both the management staff and as it were the ancillary staff are almost always from different parts of the world from this? It is observably the case. And a lot of it has to do, as I say, with an education system which simply is not designed to produce people who are the sort of people employers want. And this is a big price we pay for. And we have this very large number of people in this country now, in their late teens and 20s. There's the famous NEETs, not in education, employment or training. Why is that? We're supposed to be a very advanced country. We constantly tell ourselves how wonderful our schools and universities are, and yet people don't want their products.
Yes, it's a slight worry, I have to say. Peter, great to see you. Thank you very much.